Have you ever woken up in the dead of night, staring into the dark void of your ceiling, feeling a silence so heavy it almost crushes you? It's a specific kind of silence, isn't it? It's not just the absence of noise, it's the presence of a weight that sits on your chest, making it hard to breathe. Have you ever scrolled through the hundreds of names in your phone, watching faces and names blur by, only to put it down because you realized there isn't a single person you can call? You have followers, you have colleagues, you have acquaintances, but you do not have a witness, not one person who truly understands the storm raging inside your chest, not one person who can handle the raw, unfiltered reality of your pain without judging it or trying to fix it. That is the moment when every foundation collapses. That is when the friends you thought would stay forever turn their backs. That is when the promises evaporate like mist, and the noise of the crowd fades into a deafening, terrifying silence. You feel exposed. You feel abandoned. You feel like a building that has been demolished, leaving nothing but rubble and dust. And in the quiet of that room, a dark thought creeps in, whispering lies to your spirit. This is the end of my story. I have failed. I am broken beyond repair. God has forgotten me. But listen to me closely. Let this truth sink deep into your weary spirit. This is not the end. This is the beginning. When a human soul reaches the point where they have absolutely no one but God, something powerful, something sacred, begins to take shape. This is not a tragedy. This is a secret, painful, yet glorious journey. We call it the wilderness. If you feel like you are walking through a dark tunnel with no light in sight, if you feel isolated and forgotten, please understand that this message found you for a reason. Your isolation is not empty. Your silence is not wasted. Your loneliness is the very soil where God is planting something eternal. We are terrified when people leave us. We panic when relationships fracture. We scramble to fix things, to apologize when we shouldn't, to chase people who are meant to exit. But there's a spiritual law that few realize immediately. The absence of people is often the invitation of God. There are seasons, divine seasons, when God must allow everyone else to fade into the background. He allows the phone to stop ringing. He allows the invitations to dry up. He allows the messages to go unanswered. He allows the ones you trusted most to disappear, as if they never existed. Why? Is he punishing you? Is he angry with you? No. He is making room for himself. The room of your life was too crowded. It was filled with noise, with the opinions of others, with the validation of strangers, with your dependency on flesh and blood. You were so busy listening to what they said about you that you couldn't hear what He thinks of you. God is jealous for your heart. He wants you whole. He wants your undivided attention. And to get that, sometimes He has to clear the room. He has to unplug the sound system of your life so you can finally see the one who has never left. The Apostle Paul once wrote from a place of deep isolation, "At my first defense, no one stood with me, but all forsook me. But the Lord stood with me and strengthened me." This is the revelation you must discover. God lets people fail you so you can learn who is truly faithful. He lets them let go of your hand so you can realize who is actually holding you. This is not abandonment, it is alignment. He is realigning your spine to stand upright, dependent only on heaven. Think about the olive. For the olive to become oil, valuable, healing, anointing oil, it must be crushed. It cannot be whole and be useful. It must go through the press. You are in the press right now. The pressure you feel is not to destroy you. It is to extract the anointing from within you. Just like Jesus. He performed miracles in the crowd, but he was prepared for his purpose in the wilderness. He was affirmed in the waters of baptism, but he was strengthened in the wild, alone, battling shadows and hunger. And so it is with you. Your wilderness is not a graveyard for your dreams. It is God's workshop. When the noise stops, you finally hear the whisper. A loud life kills the ability to hear a gentle God. The world is screaming. Notifications, expectations, deadlines, judgments. God, in his majesty, rarely shouts to compete for attention. He whispers, so, in his mercy. He silences the world for you. He creates a vacuum of silence around you. Not to break you, but to break the noise that imprisons you. In that terrifying stillness, something sacred begins to sprout. You stop seeking validation from people who are just as lost as you are. You stop begging for scraps of attention from tables you were never meant to sit at. You start tuning into the frequency of heaven. You start to read the scriptures not out of religious habit, but out of starvation. You pray not because you have to, but because it's the only oxygen you have left. God is kicking away the crutches to teach you how to stand. We are taught to lean. We lean on partners for happiness. We lean on careers for identity. We lean on money for security. We lean on our beauty or our youth. But you will never discover the strength God placed inside your inner being if you never have to stand alone. So God does something that feels cruel, but is actually an act of aggressive love. He removes the crutches. The crutch might be a relationship you idolized. It might be your job title. It might be your addiction to approval. When those crutches snap, you fall. You hit the ground hard. You feel the phantom pain of loss. But this is actually liberation. He is teaching you that he is not plan B when everything falls apart. He is the foundation. He is the rock. When you lose what you thought you needed, you find the one you truly need. He is stripping you of the temporary to clothe you in the eternal. Pain becomes your greatest teacher in this season. Do not look at pain as an enemy. Look at it as a purifier. Pain burns away the ego. It burns away the pride. It burns away the superficiality. Pain births purpose. Brokenness births calling. The crushing you feel today is the preparation for the weight of glory you will carry tomorrow. You cannot carry a heavy calling with a weak character. So, God uses the isolation to build your spiritual muscles. Consider the arrow. Before an arrow can soar to its target, it must be pulled backward. It must be isolated on the string, pulled back into tension, away from the target. You are being pulled back. It feels like you are regressing. It feels like you are being left behind while everyone else is moving forward. But you are not retreating. You are gathering momentum. Finally, understand this. Loneliness is not a delay. It is a delivery room. Great purpose is grown in quiet places. Look at a seed. It must be buried in the dark, dirty, lonely soil before it can rise. If you dig it up too soon to expose it to the light, you kill it. If you break the cocoon of a butterfly because you want to help it escape the struggle, you cripple its wings. The struggle in the dark is what forces the blood into the wings so it can fly. Some blessings are too sacred to be exposed too soon. Your loneliness is not a shelf where God has forgotten you. It is a womb. God is not ignoring you, He is incubating you. You are not being rejected. You are being overshadowed. The silence around you is not a punishment. It is protection. He hides the ones He intends to use. He separates those He plans to elevate. He puts a veil over you so that the enemy cannot see what is developing. You are not behind. You are being built. You are not breaking. You are becoming. When you emerge from this hidden season, and you will emerge, you will not be the same person who entered it. The person who needed constant reassurance will be gone. The person who feared being alone will be dead. You will walk out as a warrior. You went in as a lump of coal under pressure, but you will walk out as a diamond that reflects the light of the King. You will be dangerous to the enemy. Why? Because you no longer fear the dark. You have sat in the darkness with God and realized that even the darkness is light to Him. You are no longer dependent on the applause of the crowd to know who you are. If this touches your spirit, if you feel your heart burning within you, speak this out right now into the atmosphere of your room. Change the narrative. I am hidden, but I am holy. My solitude is my sanctuary. I am not waiting for the storm to pass. I am learning to dance in the rain with my Creator. Do not fear the darkness of isolation, for it is in that very darkness that the brightest light of your life is being ignited. God is with you, right now, in the silence. He is closer than your very breath. Trust the process. Trust the silence. Trust Him.